I came back home after a long day at school and I wanted my daily debrief of Twitter and the news. So I switched on my phone and started scrolling. I went through my feed and suddenly I was thrust into a whirlwind debate about, get this, because it's funny, whether veg biryani qualifies as real biryani or is merely an imposter disguised as pulao. I started reading it and it sounded like a silly joke, as I'm sure it would to most people. But as I scrolled down the thread, the comments escalated from harmless teasing to attacks of being anti-national and uncultured. You can't help but think, from a civilized debate about veg biryani to attacking someone personally, how does one do that, and how often do you end up doing it yourself? You see, disagreement is everywhere, from veg biryani debates to slightly more pressing ones. We are disagreeing creatures. Yet, many of us fear disagreement. We try and avoid it, sometimes even do it defensively. But it wasn't always this way. Consider the philosopher Plato. Plato actually enjoyed dealing with people who had counter arguments to his ideas. For him, it wasn't about winning the debate. It was about knowledge through mindful discussion. To see if he's missing out on something. His books are literally just transcripts of him and his friends arguing. And he took those disagreements as a means to construct stronger arguments for himself. Fast forward to the scientific era. Imagine the courage it took for Copernicus to challenge the deeply entrenched belief that the Earth was the center of the universe. His disagreement with centuries of dogma didn't just reshape astronomy, it shifted the way we understood our place in the cosmos. In both examples, these figures didn't seek comfort in agreement and consensus. They challenged what was thought to be immutable. They disagreed because they understood one crucial fact. Progress comes from cutting away the status quo. And then there were millennials and my generation, Gen Z, who frankly ruined everything. Sorry guys. So what did we ruin? We ruined civil debate, and it's fallen quickly. As much as social media was designed to help communication, it often ends up doing the opposite, amplifying conflict. The same platform on which a discussion about the legitimacy of a vegetarian biryani can escalate out of control is also one where real debates about meaningful issues, political, social, can escalate out of control, where having an opinion can lead to exile. But why? Why is it so hard for us to be open to change? Why are we so afraid to listen? It's because we're stuck in these funny little things called echo chambers. Echo chambers sounds confusing, Arnav. It isn't. It all starts with social media algorithms. They're designed to keep us engaged by analyzing our likes, shares, and comments to curate content that aligns with our existing beliefs. The more we interact with certain types of content, the more we're fed the same content. What that ends up doing is just reinforcing our current views and filtering out anything that opposes us. Now, this might feel comfortable to most of us in the short term, who wouldn't want to see what they believe in. But it creates a feedback loop in the long term, where our perspectives become increasingly narrow. To demonstrate, try typing in, "Is music good for you?" on Google, and you'll get all the benefits. Reduced anxiety, better sleep, improved mood. But as soon as you type in, "Is music bad for you?" you'll get warnings about hearing loss, distractions, and overstimulation. The internet bends over backwards to give us exactly what we want to believe. And this constant affirmation of our biases makes it harder to break out of our own echo chambers. It's like asking your friend for advice, but they just keep agreeing with you no matter what. Useful? Probably not. What ends up happening is we stop learning, we stop growing, we consume, and keep consuming content that echoes in accord with us. Ladies and gentlemen, we get stuck in a big bubble. A bubble where we're surrounded only by voices that echo our own. It becomes much harder to even encounter and consider alternative viewpoints. This isn't it though. There's another cog in the wheel. Short form content. It's had a tremendous impact on our attention spans, our need for instant gratification. Quick, bite-sized content, which encourages shallow as opposed to reflective contemplation. Important issues are boiled down into short clips where viewers are interested in aggressive takedowns. In today's world, we've traded depth for convenience. Complex ideas are reduced to 280-character tweets or 15-second clips. Conversations that once required careful thought are now flattened for convenience, possibly for addiction. Our world is one where anybody can get up and become a doctor, an economist, a lawyer, even a climate change activist, because they watched a 20-second video the other day that obviously said it all. All of what I just spoke about is broadly due to a common phenomenon in the past few decades: sensationalism. Think of it like the media's secret sauce, except they're putting it on everything. Take a look at these headlines about an employment report. One says, jobs report builds hope, like it's a Disney movie. Another goes with tepid job growth builds worry, which makes you wonder if you should start stockpiling canned food. And the third one goes, job creation is still steady despite worry. It's like they're all reading from the same book, but in different accents. Why? Because drama sells. The more extreme or emotional the headline, the more likely we are to click it, to share it, to argue about it. And guess what? It works. We're drawn to these extreme takes, and the media knows it. But the problem is, it makes us think everything is either amazing or a total disaster. There's no middle ground anymore. It shoves us into extreme corners. It's like you're fed a diet of exaggerated takes. You start thinking that the other side is not just wrong, but completely out of their minds. It becomes us versus them. The truth gets foggy. At the same time though, it's impossible to always be correct. In today's world, there's a constant pressure on us to always be right. Right in how we think, speak, and act, especially on social and political issues. This push for political correctness has grown so strong that people who express unpopular or even slightly controversial opinions end up being cancelled. We end up in a world with a climate of fear, where people would rather just stay silent and conform instead of stepping outside the lines. It pressures everybody to conform to the same views. I wouldn't want to challenge the status quo. It feels too risky in a world like this. And what use is a world without change? Okay, let's take a step back for a bit. I think I've painted a pretty dreadful picture of what the world looks like, almost as if we're in Armageddon. But relax, there's a lot we can do about the problems I just spoke about. How? Firstly, and probably the most straightforward thing to do, just stop constantly consuming short-form content. Reels, shorts. Instead, prefer long-form journalism, podcasts and essays, not snippets of them. Also, and slightly harder this time, get out of your bubble. Make active contact with people holding opposing views from your own. Instead of telling yourself what you want to hear, surround yourself with content, with people that contradict you. Turning off cookies on your browsers and social media apps is probably a good idea. Shock. We should stop craving shock. Prioritize accuracy and in-depth information over the ability to get shocked for a while. Read from media outlets and content creators focused on substance. Don't just focus on one news outlet, read from diverse sources. And lastly, something that we're all trying to do, just be a decent human being. If you disagree with someone, you don't have to go off with their head. We're all entitled to an opinion. Approach debates with the goal of learning, not winning. Be open to the chance of your mind being changed, and welcome that as a sign of intellectual strength, not weakness. Concentrate on the higher pursuit of seeing the truth, even if it's slightly uncomfortable. Control X. Cut through the noise and let there be change. Thank you.